Hey everybody, I am here at the Nook with my friend Brenda Klein, who recently moved here from California. I feel so honored that Brenda, because we met online when you were still in California, and she ended up moving to the same town in North Carolina.
And not knowing that ahead.
Yeah, she's got some friends here, and so we ended up connecting and becoming good friends, good crafting friends. She has some amazing craft room here in her house, and we're going to do a video on that. But today we're here to talk about cutting machines, because cutting machines can change your life in terms of paper beading. They really can. I know without a cutting machine, I probably would never start my business because it hurts my back to sit and manually cut, right? The problem is there's a bajillion cutting machines. So a lot of people are asking me, okay, well, which machine do I get? And is there an answer to that?
Not really. It really depends on your skill level and your familiarity and
what else you're going to do with it.
Right.
You know? So Brenda's going to help me because she actually owns 3 of the major brands of cutting machines. I'm so impressed. I have 2. She's got 3. So we are going to talk through each of the 3 machines, and we're going to talk through kind of the pros and cons, because really, I mean, these are all good machines, right? I mean, they're all really good machines. But to help you make a decision before you spend a bunch of money, we thought we would just go through, tell you what we like and don't like, and maybe kind of compare the 3 a little bit in terms of using them for paper beading. Now, you can use these machines for other crafts. Card making particularly comes to mind. You can use them for quilting. They cut fabric. You can cut out cardboard and even thin metal with most of these machines. So they're used for a lot of things, but we're going to focus on their uses. I guess it's general too, but really with a mind to paper beading. So we have the Brother ScanNCut machine. Now, Brenda and I both have an older version of the ScanNCut about, I guess, 2 years ago. It was right after I bought my machine. They came out with the ScanNCut DX, which has some more automated features. We've got the, I think it's the we've got the 350, both of us. But we're going to talk about some of the features of the DX as we compare, because your Silhouette Cameo is the newer version, right?
Yes. Cameo 4.
Cameo 4. And then you have the Cricut
Explore Air, I believe it is.
Yes, Cricut Explore Air.
At least Explore.
Yes, and I have the Cricut Maker, which is slightly different, but they're pretty similar, is my understanding at this point. We've decided that in order to make this comparison easier for you guys, we are going to rate each of the machines from 1 to 3, with 1 being, you know, the good or easy, and then 3 being harder or, I guess, more bad, although all 3 of these machines are great machines, so don't get us wrong there. But that'll be the scale that we use as we talk about the different categories we're going to go over. All right, so I think the first question that we're going to answer about these 3 machines is, what is the learning curve? Because how many times have you seen people post on Facebook or come here to craft with you and they say, it's been in the box, or I took it out of the box and I couldn't get it to work, so I put it back in the box and it's under the bed. So what do we think about, we can just go through the Brother learning curve for the Brother ScanNCut.
Okay, and I have to be honest, because of our move, I haven't really used my Brother ScanNCut as much as I should have in recent years. So I'm a little rusty on that. But I think overall, the learning is, I would say from a 1 to 3, 1 being really good, easy, and 3 being poor or bad. The learning curve probably for the Brother, for me, was about a 3. But again, it goes back to familiarity. I was used to the other machines.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with that. I mean, it was easy for me to learn, but then I'm a very technical person. Like, I was a web designer in another life. I was a computer trainer. It was easy to learn, but I agree with you with the 3 because I think that most people are going to struggle. But here's why. Of the 3 machines, the Brother has more flexibility and more ability to tweak the settings independent of the automatic settings. And so that means that it's going to take you longer to learn how to do all of those things. So I think it's a fair assessment,
I would agree.
But not necessarily a bad thing, depending on who you are and what kind of choice you want to make. What about the Cricut?
The Cricut was my first machine, so I was the most familiar with that. I found it easy, but I'm not easily intimidated by electronics either.
That's a good thing.
And that's a story in itself. But I felt like it was pretty straightforward. But I do know a lot of people that come to my nook here and that theirs is still in the box. But again, I think it's a comfort level in general.
Yeah, and one thing I really liked when I got my Cricut Maker, I guess I've had it almost 2 years now, but I did an unboxing video. So if you want to go back on my YouTube channel and look at the unboxing video, I actually filmed my entire setup of that. It does run you through a wizard that walks you through your first cut. And so that did make it easier to actually get it running the very first time that I did it. But I also feel like because there's less options, not that it does less, but that it allows you to customize less. You just pick from a drop down and it sets the settings for you. It is probably less of a learning curve.
Right.
So I would agree with that too. And then the Silhouette, which again, I don't have, but I just got a little crash course in it. We just played with it a little bit so I could get a feel for it. And I think we agree on this one as well.
Yes, yes. And I actually have tended to use that one more because I am really, my emphasis has been more on scrapbooking and card making. And I just really like the plethora of files that are available. Both the Cricut and the Silhouette have subscriptions. Cricut used to have the cartridges. Now they've advanced to where you can sync what you have to the internet, or you can purchase the files individually or as a whole, as a package. But okay, I tend to use my Silhouette more because my emphasis has been more on card making and scrapbooking, and I just have liked their images better. Both have subscriptions to their images. If you have a Cricut already, the program now will sync the cartridges that you already have, so you don't have to repurchase anything.
That's nice.
They're available right on your computer, and you work from the screen on your computer. The Cameo also has a subscription service where you can get a certain number of images for a certain amount for each month. It depends on what level of package you want to purchase, but they're really very similar. I just have preferred the Cameo Silhouette images over the others. But again, that's not a reflection badly on the Cricut because they're great images as well.
Yeah, and it's more like a personal taste.
It really is.
Now, the Brother does come with a lot of images for free. But if you want things like licensed images, there are image packs you can purchase. And I think there is a subscription as well if you want more images than what it comes with. So it does come with some base fonts and things like that. You can use it without having a subscription, which is nice. But then you can expand it if you need to. All right, so one of the big things that you will have to know about when you're going to use these machines is you have to have a sticky mat. So go ahead and show us the Silhouette mat. So this is just a plastic, really thin plastic mat that's sticky here on the front, and you stick your paper down to it and you feed it into the machine. The reason you need to be really aware of this is that these mats do wear out. So it's something that you're going to have to buy over and over again. So before you make a purchase decision, you need to know how much you're going to be spending. So what's your experience about the Silhouette mats?
I get a lot of wear out of them. Eventually they do get where they're less tacky, and that's usually when I replace them. There are methods to refresh them, but I want to get right to my project, so I often just replace the mat.
And yours last for a lot of cuts,
yes.
Like more than you can even
yes.
guess. So that's good. So here's the Cricut mat. And we were looking at expense, and we said this was around $10 a mat, we thought. And it's going to vary depending on where you look and how many you get. The Cricut mats are around $8 a piece. You can get them in 3 packs. They are pretty firm. This is the thicker of the 3 machines, has probably a thicker mat. And the sticky tends to last a really long time. So I've been using my Brother mats quite a bit. But it's easy to replace these two. Let's talk about the Brother. This is the bane of my existence with the Brother mats. So this is what your brother mat looks like. And the brother is a little finicky. It's got these kind of codes on the top, and it has to read this in order to cut. So you can't substitute other mats for brother mats. These are really thin. They cut through. I don't know how many times I've cut through my mats, and I just duct taped back because I'm so throwing them out, because these are also much more expensive. I found some mats online, $20 for one mat. The other bad thing, you can tell Brother's getting a bad grade on this section. The other bad thing about the brother mat is the sticky wears off really fast. I literally can go through a brand new mat in 2 days. But then I'm also doing like 6 hours worth of cutting because I'm cutting a lot of paper strips. So they wear out really fast. And so I do spend quite a bit of time re-sticking my mats. And so you can do that rather than buying new ones. What I do, there's a lot of videos out there with methods. I haven't done one yet. I probably should. But I have found that if I take an SOS pad and I scrub off, it's really fast. There's people out there who are like, put Goo Gone on it, leave it for 4 hours, you know, all these weird combinations of things. If you take an SOS pad, you can get this cleaned in like 2 minutes. Just be careful that you don't scratch off any of the black. So it doesn't scratch off the grid at all. But you get it completely clean and dry, and then you can take, so you've used Zig, which is like
the two-way marker.
The two-way marker
glue pen.
I use Aleene's Tack It Over and Over mixed with a little bit of water, and I brush it on and let it dry, and that will re-stick it. Now the re-stick is never as good as the original stick.
And it is the chisel end that I use when I use the.
And do you go like all over, or do you just kind of do like spots?
I go down each row.
In lines. Okay. So you can't do that. Now there is a hack that I'm doing, but I cannot recommend it for you guys because you could damage your machine. Ask me how I know, because I did. But I read it online, and so I tried it, where I took a brother mat like this, and I cut it down, and I double-sided taped it to my brother mat. It works, but because this Cricut mat is so much thicker, it can cause problems with your rollers, and I actually did pop off the roller off of my brother machine. So I can't recommend that you do that, but I just want to let you know that I did, and there's some danger to it. So just going to let you decide what to do with that. But it works. But it works better. These mats, like, what happens when it gets too worn out is the paper slips in the middle of your cut. And a lot of times then the whole piece of paper is scrap. You have to figure out what to use it for. So that's why I got desperate and decided to do it. So I would say that brother fails on the mats. They get a 3, which is our worst. And then Cricut and Silhouette.
I would say pretty much ones, I think.
I would agree with you.
Yeah. And one thing I do every time I replace a mat is I date it. Take a Sharpie marker.
Yeah.
And that kind of gives me a feel for how often I'm having to replace a mat. Just how many cuts. And it really depends on what my activity level is. If I have some major special projects, then I'm cutting a lot, like you say.
Yeah.
You know, hours worth.
I didn't even think of doing that. That's such a great idea. All right. So that's mats. One of the other things that we looked at was wireless connectivity. So when I use my brother's ScanNCut, I paid like an extra $30. Actually got it for a Christmas gift for the wireless card, they call it. And basically it's just an activation card. And I can send files to my brother from anywhere. Like literally my mother could send a file to my brother machine if we hooked it up because it comes over the internet. So I love it. I rated that a 1. Now we've talked about the Cricut and the Cameo, which also has sort of a wireless connection. They use Bluetooth. So you have to have Bluetooth on your computer or phone or tablet, which I think most do at this point. So that's not an issue. But for the Explore, yeah, here we go. We pulled this out. For the Explorer, in order to do wireless sending of files, you have to have an extra fob, which you have to purchase. But the Maker, it's built in. The Bluetooth is built in. So you can send them as long as you're within range of the Bluetooth, which I think is usually a couple of yards. But, I mean, really, you're usually right there when you're using the remote. So it's probably not.
And I honestly have not gone with the wireless.
Yeah, because the other option...
Because I'm always connected to my computer.
Yeah, explain the other option, how if you don't have the wireless, you just plug in the cord, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like a USB.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I actually have switched over from PC to Mac, so Macs don't have the USB ports, so you do have to purchase a little adapter to.
It converts the regular USB to the USB-C, which is the little kind of oval connector.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so those are all some things to be aware of too, if you're Mac or PC. All these machines work with both.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So automatic and manual settings. So here's the thing. The machines, as they have developed over time, they have built in some auto settings. For example, the Brother ScanNCut DX will auto detect what thickness of paper you're using. So you don't have to choose it off of a list or set it. You can choose it and set it, but you don't have to. Now, I think that from what we can tell, the Silhouette Cameo 4 and the Cricut don't auto detect.
Right. At least I know the Cameo doesn't.
Yeah, the versions we have don't.
So,
now.
Right.
That's not to say they aren't going to come out with one right after I post this video just that will auto detect, or that it's not out there and I just haven't looked at it yet. So I think that if you're looking for that ease of use, like if you're a less technical person, the Brother ScanNCut DX may be a better option for you because it does do a lot of things for you that you would have to do. So if you like automatic settings, that's a good thing. The Cricut, I feel like, is also very automatic in that it doesn't allow you to adjust things. So for example, a continual frustration with me, because I had my brother first, and of course what you get first is what you are most comfortable with. With the Brother ScanNCut, I can literally reach over to the machine, pop out the blade, and adjust the depth of the blade to cut exactly how I want. Reliability during cuts. We rated these all the same.
They all get a 2.
Yeah, they all get kind of that middle of the ground. And here's why. Because all of them are going to fail on you. You're going to, go to cut something and it doesn't cut all the way through. And you're like, really? You have to run it through a second time. Or the sticky's not going to hold and it's going to slide. Or the pressure is going to be a little too hard and the paper's going to slide. Or paper will rip on you. Like I've had mine get caught in the paper. If it's the corners lifted up, it gets caught in the roller, and it kind of rips or pulls up.
I even think humidity can have an impact.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Having lived in California and now living here, I'm aware of that.
Yeah, that makes less. Is it more humid here?
Yes. I lived where there was a very dry heat.
Okay. So that,
Central Valley.
And that really does affect paper. So that's that's a thought. Being able to measure the humidity in the room where you store your paper might actually be a really smart thing to do.
Right. And of course the material. If it's a heavier paper than a lighter paper, all of that plays into it.
Yeah.
There's so much to be aware of.
Yes, there really
But
is.
don't be intimidated.
No, because I'm telling you, it's a life changer having one of these machines. Okay, SVG importing. Now, I'll tell you, this has been a big frustration. So I design SVG files for paper beads. And when I started doing that when I had just the Brother ScanNCut. And what happened is as more and more people were buying my files, people who had Cricut machines were struggling with the files. And I would help them, spend a lot of time with some people, hours with some people, trying to help them. So I finally went out and bought a Cricut maker because I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Clearly, I need to see how this machine is dealing with it. What I found is that the Cricut maker is just not as good at importing outside SVGs as the Brother ScanNCut. I have actually had to, with the files that I sell, create second versions of the files just for the Cricut. One of the changes that I've had to make is with the Brother ScanNCut, I can use the entire page and I can just have the lines going up and down the page and a line across, and literally I can use an entire sheet of paper. The Cricut, I cannot get to use those files. It wants every shape, every strip to be its own piece, and there has to be space in between. And so there's a little more waste unless you do what I do, which is I go through and I cut all those little pieces off out of my scrap and I throw them into a bin to use as scrap strips. So, because I can't waste that paper.
Right.
Paper's expensive, and we have an environment to worry about. So that is why when you purchase the SVG files from me, sometimes you'll see in some of the designs, you'll see special ones just for the Cricut because of how I'm designing the original files. What has your experience been with this silhouette?
I have found it to cut generally, except for an occasional time. It will do the entire strip. It doesn't have any wastage or that kind of thing.
Yeah, and we actually just did a sample cut with one of my files that that uses the whole page, and it did it fine. Yeah, it did it great without a problem.
Yeah.
So that is, to me, that's a big thing. But again, it just depends. And I think the other thing I would say about the Cricut is when I have customers who purchase, everybody has a different problem. Exact same file, but everybody's machine interprets it a little differently. And I'm having to do different solutions for different people, even though they have the same machine. So I don't know what it is, why the software or the machines are a little less consistent, but they definitely are. So we're going to rate the Cricut as a 3, which is our worst rating for SVG importing. But the Silhouette and the Brother?
I think they're both at 1.
Yeah.
At least that's been my experience. It's been successful.
Yeah. So if you're looking at doing that a lot, and that's really paper beads, I don't think any of these come with paper bead files at this point. So you're going to be importing SVGs or building your own in the software. So that's going to be a really important thing for you. Let's see. Our next one is what? Range of materials.
I think they all rate as a 1 for that because they will all incorporate a plethora of ranges of materials, anywhere from your thin copy paper to chipboard even, and
Fabric.
everything in between, fabric as well.
And I know I actually got a set, I haven't gotten to use it yet, but I got a set of engraving tools for the Brother ScanNCut. So I can actually engrave things. I don't know if the other ones can do that. That is definitely something that I think people should research, though. If you do other crafts, look at each of the machines and look at, what materials can they cut as it comes in the box? And then do you need to buy extra blades?
Right.
Because with a lot of these, I know with the Brother, there's the regular cut blade, there's the deep cut blade. I've got the engraving tool, there's markers. And I know the Silhouette and the Cricut both come with markers and different blades as well.
That's correct.
I know I've seen people rave about the Cricut rotary tool for cutting fabric. I've not used it, but people love it. So definitely look into that. Think about all the things you'll be using these machines for, and make sure that you pick the one that does more for you. And if you have to buy extra blades for it. So now that we've gone through kind of our opinions on all 3, I will tell you which one's my favorite. I love my Brother ScanNCut. If I were only going to have one machine, the Brother ScanNCut would be it. And I am dying to get my hands on a DX. I'm a little cheap though too, so like I can't buy one until I feel like I either need a third machine or my old one's worn out. But the DX is really exciting for me. So that is my favorite, and it's my favorite mainly because of the flexibility of being able to tweak all the manual stuff. That is one I like the best. Although now seeing your Silhouette in person, I really think the Silhouette could be my favorite if I played with this more. So I meant to come over and
Indeed,
do some more work with that.
And I would have to say the same thing. I'm really happy that I have all 3 because each of them have a uniqueness. The great thing about the ScanNCut is just that. It will scan and cut. So either you could have your paper bead files printed, it will scan those and then cut them. Or, for instance, if you're stamping something and you don't have a coordinating die for it, then the ScanNCut is great for scanning the image and then cutting it. And you can tell it to cut very close to the image, or as in many dies, to have that white rim or edge around the image. But in terms of paper beading, really, I just have to be honest, I've used my Cameo the most. I have cut with both of the others, but it was probably like two and a half years ago, right after I met Kelly. So being in the process of moving and all of life. I just haven't given them the time that I have given to the Cameo.
Well, when you have 3 machines, that's, you gotta have a lot of time. That's a lot.
That's true.
Oh, and speaking of, so you talked about the big selling feature of the ScanNCut is that it does have the built-in scanner.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the biggest feature of the Cricut that would be most helpful is if you're going to be doing a lot of vinyl. Mm-hmm. One thing that I've noticed that the Cricut does is if you're going to do like a t-shirt and you have different colors of vinyl, you color the shapes on the software and it will automatically separate out the shapes by color so that you can, put your red vinyl on one mat, your blue vinyl on another, and easily cut out the colors separately. You would have to do that manually with the ScanNCut. It does not do that color separation that you get with the Cricut. So if you do a lot of vinyl or different colors like that, that is something that you should know that it does really, really well. And is there anything about the silhouette that stands out that's different?
I can't really say that I'm aware of anything. Even just last night as I was rearranging my desk here, I discovered pulling out, because I've never used vinyl on it, the tray. I hadn't noticed it before.
It pulls out.
It pulls out and it has the little pieces that will connect. It will open up and then there's these little brackets on the side.
It'll do the roller.
Yeah, so if you were using vinyl.
Because you have to purchase a roller for the Cricut or the Brother.
Okay.
They come with them, but you have to purchase them as accessories.
See, I wasn't aware of that. But I personally have not done vinyl except for when a friend came over, and we did it on the Cricut, but we didn't need the rollers because we had the 12 by 24 mat, and that's the size we were working with. So.
Yeah. Does the silhouette have a 12 by 24? I know the Brother does.
Not to my knowledge, but I wouldn't want to speak to that definitively.
Okay, we can look it up and see.
I haven't had that need to purchase it, so I haven't researched it.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing, that built-in roller.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
See, they've each got kind of their own thing depending on what you're going to do with them.
Exactly.
So, well, I would say this has been a really good kind of overview of the 3 machines. What's best about each one? Like we said, you can't go wrong. I mean, any of these machines is really going to change your entire crafting life. It's going to make you more prolific, I guess. You're going to be able to cut strips faster, roll more beads. And if you're a person like me who cutting is my least favorite part of paper beading, it really will change everything for you. So I hope that helps. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're going to have some more of Brenda on the channel. She's got just some amazing things to share with us. So, and you can come join us over in Paper Bead Fanatics. We're both in there, and we want to see pictures of the things that you create, as well as questions and advice that we can all share for each other. So, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for coming.
And thank you for joining us. And make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And